So you're also into bodybuilding for quite some time. Did you start bodybuilding before you got into wrestling? Was that something you were passionate about, or did you get into bodybuilding via wrestling?
You're asking all these questions that require these long drawn out answers. So
that's what you're here to talk, baby.
Yeah.
So tell you what, right now. So with everything, with everything in the world right now, where we don't disclude anybody, and can you imagine? I used to send my VHS tapes into WWE, and we used to get letters back that if you were not 6'2" and 225 pounds or more, please do not send any VHS tapes until further notice. They literally told us, do not send just your tapes. So of course I think I'm 6'1", so I ran out and got like another inch put on my boot. Right. So that I was like 6'2", and I did make the weight requirement at the time. When I first started with Randy, I was in college. I was 176 pounds, and he made me a referee. Like I trained for like a year, and the best I could hope for is a referee, and that somebody would not show up, because then maybe I might get the battle royal. I was the Wisconsin Chicken for a long time. I was Jacques Rougeau Jr., the Mountie, for a very long time. Those pictures are still floating. Tweak and Dash Phoenix, the Phoenix twins, they still have a ton of pictures of me as the Mountie. I had a 6-foot stuffed bear that was like mounted to a piece of wood that I would take to the ring with me. I was Los Conquistador #2. Me and Eric Priest were the Conquistadors, former WWE superstars. I had to put on weight, and I had to get over 200 pounds. And to think about wrestling now, and where my son is, and where the people that he's wrestling with, and the people who are getting a lot of exposure, those guys would never have been taken seriously. Never back then. And I'm glad. I mean, I used to hate it, and I used to hate the skinnies. You know, I mean, Mikey, you probably heard me going off in a locker room or something. But I understand it's a changing times, and it's better. I think it's better overall. Wrestling is for everybody, I guess, now. I mean, I wish some guys would stick to like bowling on Saturday nights, but that's just my own opinion. So bodybuilding came because I had to be in shape for wrestling. I had to put on size. In 2009, I did my first bodybuilding show. So 9 years after I started wrestling. Oh, wow. And then I got bit by the bug. I took like 9th out of 11 guys, and it was absolutely horrible. I was so embarrassed. I decided to dedicate everything in my career at that time, changed to personal training. I dedicate everything. My next show in 2010, I won the Mr. Wisconsin light heavyweight class. I went to California, won multiple shows in California Grand Prix of bodybuilding. I won the Venice Beach Pro-Am. Both of those shows were held on the Muscle Beach stage, like right behind where like the workout is on the boardwalk there. 2015 was my last show. I won the novice the novice heavyweight, the novice overall, and the open heavyweight. And I lost the overall open to a guy who ended up becoming a top level pro. So, but we had a lot of fun. I'm still kicking around the idea to get back on the stage and do it. Just a lot of time commitment, a lot of dieting. I'm probably not the nicest person. I'm not the nicest person anyway. So you just add cranky dieting on it. So I know someone's listening within earshot right now who's probably making a face right now, which is my significant other. So
we'll certainly tell her we say hi.
Yeah.
Okay. But it helped though, Mikey. It helped being a bodybuilder because it helped and it actually hindered me. And you guys will find this interesting. So the bigger I got, I think like when I was with Pro Wrestling Blitz in 2015, I started dieting for my bodybuilding show. I was 292 pounds and I wasn't fat. I was 292 pounds. But the problem was I would get thrown into matches with Jay Bradley's. I would get thrown into matches with Beer City Bruisers. I would get thrown into these matches where it's like, hey guys, go beat each other up for 8 minutes. You guys both tumble out of the ring and battle back to the back, double DQ. And I think, Mikey, it kind of hindered, or I would say it stopped my ability to grow as a wrestler. I stopped being able to remember so much in the ring because it was just brawling. It was just, honestly, that's all we did. And I'm starting, and Jeff Luxon, my partner going into that, he's really helped me we started teaming, I think, in 2011. 2011.
Yeah.
He's really helped me come back out of that because I was the biggest guy in the locker room for a long time. There's still locker rooms I am. I'm 6'1", I'm 255 pounds, and I work out every day, but it just it did stop a lot of that ability. It's like, Mikey, I was going to bring this up. People ask me a lot why I stopped working for Rockin Randy. And he was running twice a month, 3 times a month. And I gave that up. And the reason why was because I wasn't getting any better. I was wrestling with the guys that I trained with. I was wrestling the same matches with the Matt Long times and the Adrian Lynches. And did you go through that when you were at POW? Did you kind of just feel like you were shoehorned into like one style of match and that's all you could do?
Not in particular. We had a versatile group like a Scott Spade, who's so old school. I had Kanoa and Cairo to work with, who loved doing the ROH Japanese stuff. Kross and I could work a big man, small man with. So I was still so new, and there was an eclectic group. Guys that would plan things out, guys that would call it on the fly, guys that just wanted to brawl, guys that didn't want you to throw a single punch. That it was just an amalgamation of learn. But then it did become a time where it's like, I'm getting other people better, certainly, but I'm not getting any better. And as much as I love you guys, if I'm going to make myself better, make more money, and sell more merch, I have to get better. And we have to bring in other people, or I have to go somewhere else. So I completely understand that.
And I did that, and it was very frowned upon back in like 02, 03. Like, if you were a Randy guy, you were a Randy guy. And I remember going to PCW. I remember going to Classic Championship Wrestling for Jimmy when he first branched off on his own. God, I think I worked like the first 4, 5, 6, 7 shows for Jimmy when he was first on his own with Dave Storm. And, I just had to experience working different guys. And that's when I really got better. I started working in Nashville for Bert. Bert was so kind, and I always talk about it. I said, when nobody took me seriously, he made me a champion. He gave me the Southern States Championship, which I knew what it was. It was just the belt to hold, but he gave it to me. He liked my look. He gave me a character. I walked into his office at the TV studios, and he said, "What's your name? Your wrestling name?" I said, "Joey B." He goes, "Ugh, that's awful. Where'd you come up with that?" I go, "It's my real name." Oh, so he sat there, and then he looked at me and he said, "Why are you staring at the floor?" I said, "I'm nervous." He goes, "You look at me in the eyes, boy, because you are stunningly gorgeous, and I'm going to build a territory around you." Now, little did I know that he had told everybody that he was going to build a territory around. So that was like his I got him. So he came up with the name. He came up with Ryan Kross. I didn't. Jericho was still using Y2J. Mm-hmm. So he wanted something to play off of that. So he called me Ravishing Ryan Kross, which was 2 R's and a K. So he said, they'll call you R2K, but because I'm managing you, they'll call you R2 Gay to make fun of you. And I said, okay. And he ran with that. And I did I guess I wouldn't say I was a Adrian Street. I did more of like a Rick Rude. And he was doing his character from the old USWA as Christopher Love. He had he bought me robes and stuff and boas, and I mean that was my character. I mean, I owe everything. I owe all that to him. And he put me in matches with a young Eric Young, with a Prince Justice who ended up becoming Abyss. He got me on the TNA Explosion, the syndicated show that was filmed down there at the fairgrounds. If you remember, they had like a syndicated show that would run between the pay-per-views. He brought me in to work all the Wild Side guys because Bill Behrens was bringing a car full of guys every show. So it was like Crew Jones. Remember Crew? Yeah. Crew Jones and like his group and stuff. And everything I ever accomplished up until a certain point, like it was all Bert. Like I will always be respectful and I will always have a love for Randy, but I learned how to bump. You'll understand this. I learned how to bump with Randy. I became a worker in Tennessee. I would stay with Kenny Wayne, one half of the Nightmares. His partner was Danny Davis back in the days, and we would sit in his trailer, and we'd watch old videos, and we watch old matches and old promos, and it was phenomenal, man. It was just, I learned how to, from throwing a short arm punch to opening wide up and taking a chop and doing the 2 seconds, and I mean, it was just everything, all this little stuff that was big in the South that nobody cared about in Chicago, because they just wanted to see how hard you could hit, the strong style stuff,
I definitely learned that working down in Tennessee. I was younger, so I still was just trying to blow people up and get my spots in, just to realize no one gave a fuck. But
you guys all went down and worked for Porter, right? Forsaken got you guys booked on that NWA main event. Yeah. So he actually hated Bert. Like, that was like a big rivalry.
Really?
Yeah. So Porter and Bert were like enemies. Everybody used to say that, did Bert hit on you? I said, yeah, you just got used to it.
Right.
He just, and it was funny because him and Bill Behrens and Bob Ryder, and then there was one more, but I used to call them the gaggle of gay, because they would come around and they all fight like girls, and it was so funny. And they were all such great guys. And like Porter, he kind of got in at the end, but that NWA main event, I remember the building that they ran, and I know Forsaken, I think, was their booker, and you guys were pretty close to Forsaken there. Yep.
Yeah, Rick got us in there. And then we ran some with Shane Morton down there as well. But man, even the stark difference between a spot crowd and a cat and mouse crowd, a Memphis crowd, is jarring. And man, is it so nice to have those paydays where I just got to run around the ring, pull out my fist. Oh, those are the fun ones.
I still tell people, like, those days, like, I remember working Big Bully Douglas, and I think he said, I put him in a headlock, and he goes, "Damn, kid, this ain't the UFC, lighten up." I whispered, I go, "It's a headlock, it's too damn tight."